In the last video I talked about C major as a chord and what you could do with it, extra notes and all of that, from the sort of cheapest budget version of C major all the way up to the sort of Fortnum and Mason C major with rhythms and all sorts of stuff. Now I'm going to use GarageBand today, and I'm going to show you using GarageBand and only on the iPad, no other instruments, just this, to show you how it works and how you can make that C major sound a bit more expensive. Let's have a look. Okay, so here I am with GarageBand. You can see I've got my various options of instruments to start off with. I'm going to go to drummer first. Just pick an acoustic kit. I'm going to slow the tempo down ever so slightly. Let's try sort of 90. There we are. Just so that you can hear what's going on without any sort of any busyness. So here we've got the drum beat. Etc. I'm just going to leave those drums as they are because it's a good basic rhythm. There's nothing much going on. In fact, I'm going to take the fills, just going to take them down a bit actually, just that bottom slider. So I'm going to press the brick wall symbol, third from top left. There we are. And then I'm going to add a bass guitar. Now what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to use the smart bass. And I'm only going to use C major, so the fifth tab along here. Now I'm going to set the autoplay to number 1, that little dial top right there, so that my bass line plays just the C and nothing else. So it's just a bass on C. So here we go. I'm just going to record 2 bars of that and then loop it. And there we are. So I'm just going to go back to the main window, and I'm just going to drag back to the end of bar 2. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and then paste it at bar 3, bar 5 and bar 7. There is a reason why I'm not looping it, because I might want to change the bass maybe halfway along or do something a little bit more interesting depending on what the other instruments are doing. So I'm going to now select a piano. So I've got my classical grand piano here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play the C chord. It goes C, E, G. Now I could swap those notes around, so instead of the C being here, I could put it up here, but still keep the other 2 notes of E and G. Or I could do this, or I could do this, and this. Now that's just C, there's nothing else going on there at all. So I could actually try and play a few different versions of C, just the basic chord as I'm going along. Now I'm just going to correct that last one because I accidentally hit the D instead of the C. So when I go into the edit window, you can see that little D at the top there. Just need to delete that and then bring this back slightly and then extend it. Now at the same time I could quantize this. Ideally I would quantize this because it wasn't really all that good. On a keyboard, if you connect a keyboard, it's much easier to play in time, but you know, that's fine. So settings, I went to quantization straight and then 8th notes. So I'm just going to now go back to here, and I'm going to copy and paste at bar 5. Now I'm going to get a guitar. Now you can use you can use other notes. So if I just go back to the keyboard just to explain that, we've got C, E and G, which make up the C chord, but I could add the 2nd of the scale. And I could actually add the 6th as well. And either or both. but it's quite busy, that. The F would not work. So there's my C chord. Because it's right next to the note, the E, that defines the fact that that chord is a major chord. So I could have my 6th, sometimes I could add my 7th as well. But you've got to be a little bit careful, because if the vocal line is a C, that major 7th can be a little bit grating. So I'm going to just go back to my main window, and instead of the piano, I'm going to have a guitar instead. Now I'm going to use the guitar fretboard for this. Maybe let's try an acoustic guitar here. So I've got my D and my A. So 3rd fret on the B string and A, which is 5th fret on the 1st string, on the E string. So I'm just going to add some combinations of that. Now I can have my D, my A, and a few other notes. I could still use the main notes, but it'd be quite nice to have the D and the A just to complement that piano. So I recorded all 8 bars there because I wanted a little bit of variety, which kind of hides the fact that I've looped everything else. So although I did copy the bass and paste it over, actually if you do different things over the copy, over the pasted versions, you can get away with it a bit. Now I'm not really sure about that first guitar note. It's a little bit, maybe a little bit early. Maybe I could wait until the end of the bar before I introduce that D, this one here. That's better. So I'm going to actually quantize this as well. I'm going to go into track settings, quantization, straight and 8th notes. And there we are. So far I've got a guitar, bass, piano and drums. So I've got, you know, the full band as it were. So I'm going to actually add some strings. I'm going to use the smart strings on this. So if I just go to autoplay 1, for example, I get... Ooh. Starting to get a bit American with its sharp 4 there. Well, maybe we can avoid that. Now I'm going to take the cellos and the basses away because I've got my bass sound and I don't want that double bass to interfere with the bass line. So I'm going to click on the bass so that the stage light goes out over it, and probably the cellos as well. Just leaving the violins and violas there. So what about this? That would work okay. Let's see what autoplay 3 does. That for me is working a bit better because the notes are slightly more basic. In the autoplay 2, I had the F, that 4th note in C, which I really want to avoid. However, I am going to use this because you can correct anything that it's done afterwards. That's the beauty of GarageBand. It's very, very tactile, and you can actually, there are many workarounds as well. So let's try this. So it just does that one loop. If I just go back to the beginning, you can see that it happened twice, and then I pressed stop before it got to bar 5. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this, I'm going to edit this, and it shows you what it played. There's that F there, and I'm not really sure about that. So I'm just going to split the sounds. Maybe I could take that E away actually, so that I can allow the D, which is one of my extra notes that I wanted, to be a little bit more prominent. That's nicer. Now the second time I could draw a window. I'm going to have that first note, I'm going to have it a bit earlier. Now I'm not averse to that F, but it's just an occasional thing, and it also depends what's happening in your vocal line. So I actually brought that rhythm of the first string chord, I brought it back again a little bit, so it just gives it a little bit of variety. So there we are. I mean, I could add maybe a Hammond organ or something, just to provide some sort of continuity. So I'm going to just go to my, let's have a look, soul organ or something. Soul organ, there we are. So I'm going to just get a sound that's a little bit cleaner, a little bit, take the distortion off, and take the chorus off, and I'm also going to switch the percussion off as well. And maybe some higher notes. Now Hammond organ is one of these things that actually sounds better when it's a little bit lower in the mix. So I'm just going to set it lower before I've even recorded, so I can sort of hear how it's going to sound. And I can also use the rotation thing, the Leslie cabinet. I can do that sort of thing. So I'm going to record something. A little note in there. I was trying to press the rotation key at the same time as. That's the only slight downside, is that sometimes you might catch a wrong note. However, you can do something about this. There it is. I'm just going to put that there. That was the little note that went wrong. So here we go. I'm just going to play this back from the beginning. Maybe mix that organ slightly higher, but it's one of those things where it's, you know, you've got the mix right when you take it away and you think, oh, what's gone? Not sure. So there we are. There's a little exercise in C major. I've used extra notes that I could have in that scale. C, E and G are the main notes, but I could use a D and an A and occasionally a B as well, but I've just got to be very careful that doesn't interfere with the vocal line. So it's really just two added notes, and the work has been divided across all of the instruments. And there we are.